Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Los Angeles, early evening. The golden rays of the setting sun stream through the large bay windows of the Whitman Villa, casting warm reflections on the polished wooden floors and modern furniture. In the silent living room, Ethan Whitman, 8 years old, sits on the floor, surrounded by toys spread out in disarray. His eyes observe the world with a particular intensity, but his lips remain closed. Since birth, Ethan has hardly ever spoken. His words have been locked in a silence that neither therapists nor specialists, however renowned, have been able to pierce. His mother, Margaret Whitman, an elegant and confident woman in her 40s, watches him from the armchair. Every gesture, every sound, every reaction of Ethan's is scrutinized. She has spent a fortune trying to understand and help her son. Psychologists, special education teachers, seminars, alternative therapies, nothing has worked. Despair mixes with worry a little more each day. Suddenly, across the garden, Margaret sees a figure that catches her attention. It is a young black man, in his 20s, Malik Johnson, who walks slowly toward the gate. He's nothing spectacular, yet he exudes a calm and reassuring aura. Margaret notices how he crouches down to Ethan's level, speaking gently and patiently. The boy, usually closed off from the world, timidly turns his head toward him. And then, almost like a miracle, Ethan makes a small sound, then a word, "Hello." Margaret stands frozen. Her heart races. She's never heard her son utter a word in her presence. Malik smiles encouragingly, but gently, and Ethan timidly repeats the word. Margaret feels a wave of emotion wash over her, admiration, gratitude, and a hint of disbelief. She knows, in that moment, that she has just seen something extraordinary. Not just progress, a genuine, human connection that could transform Ethan's life, and her own. The young man slowly rises and meets Margaret's gaze. In this simple, silent exchange, a promise is formed: something deep and powerful will be born here, something beyond money, therapies, and empty promises. The next morning, Margaret can't help but think back to the previous day's scene. The word, "good morning," still echoes in her head, like an unexpected echo of hope. She decides not to wait, she must meet this man who made her son talk. So Margaret goes into the small neighboring garden, where Malik is sitting on a bench, his gaze peaceful, watching the flowers and birds. He looks up and gives her a genuine smile, neither pretentious nor distant. "Hello," said Margaret, approaching. "Hello," Malik replies calmly. There's something in his voice, a quiet assurance that doesn't try to impress. Margaret feels her curiosity growing and, at the same time, a mixture of apprehension. She knows that her world of wealth and control is about to encounter something completely different. I wanted to thank you," she begins. "My son, he spoke to you. For the first time." "He always had the words in him," Malik replies. "It was just a matter of finding the right moment, the right rhythm." Margaret is intrigued. She then invites him to come to her house to discuss his method. Malik accepts, but insists, he doesn't want money. "My goal is to help children, not to be paid." Inside, Margaret's house gleams with luxury, modern paintings, oriental rugs, Italian furniture. But Malik doesn't seem impressed. He looks at Ethan, who's sitting on the floor, and gently crouches down beside him. "Hi Ethan," he said gently. The boy looks up, a little suspicious, but his lips move and he whispers, "Hi." Margaret, her eyes misty, realizes something important is happening. Malik isn't doing anything extraordinary, but he's creating a space where Ethan feels safe, heard, and understood. As the session continues, Margaret notices something that touches her deeply. Malik speaks to Ethan as if he truly believes that every word, every gesture, every smile matters. This isn't cold technique, nor impersonal therapy. This is humanity, pure and simple. At the end of the session, Ethan utters several words he's never said before. Margaret hugs Malik, overcome with gratitude. She knows, deep down, that this meeting could change her son's life, and hers, forever. Over the next few days, Margaret watches Ethan with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Every morning, Malik arrives on time, calm and confident, always bringing a small object or game that catches Ethan's attention. Margaret notices that Ethan is beginning to look forward to these sessions, which is in itself an encouraging first sign. That morning, Malik places colorful cards on the floor, each representing a word or action. Ethan sits down, intrigued, and begins pointing at the cards, tentatively repeating the sounds Malik whispers to him. "All right, Ethan," Malik said with an encouraging smile. "Try again, Dad." The boy opens his mouth, hesitates, then says the word weakly. Margaret holds her breath. Then he repeats, "Duh, duh." "Well done, my friend." Malik breathes. Margaret felt her heart fill with joy and relief. It was the first time she had heard her son form a complete word. Tears welled up in her eyes. She realized that this was not simply linguistic progress, it was a victory over silence, over the barriers she had thought insurmountable. Malik doesn't just congratulate Ethan, he also shows him how to communicate through gestures and facial expressions, integrating each progress into a natural and playful context. Margaret watches, fascinated. She understands that her precious wealth and resources could never replace this sincere attention and unwavering patience. At the end of the session, Ethan approaches Margaret, extends his hand and says clearly, "Mom." Margaret, overcome with emotion, hugs her son. For the first time, she feels a true connection, a genuine bond. Malik stands back, smiling, knowing that the real miracle isn't just Ethan's words, but the trust he's beginning to develop in those around him. This small success marks the beginning of a transformation. Margaret begins to realize that her son's path to communication won't be quick, but that with Malik, she has finally found the right direction. And, more than anything, she begins to feel a deep respect and sincere admiration for this young man whose patience and kindness surpass anything money can buy. As the weeks pass, Ethan's progress is visible, but not linear. Some days, he repeats words and phrases fluently, other days, he withdraws into his usual silence, refusing all contact. Margaret, impatient and anxious, begins to feel an inner tension. She has spent a fortune and given so much energy to help her son that she can't bear the thought of going backward. One afternoon, while Malik is working with Ethan in the living room, Margaret intervenes. "Ethan, why don't you say, 'Mom,' like yesterday?" she asks, her voice trembling with worry. Ethan looks away and curls up slightly. Malik, calm, kneels beside him. "Ethan needs time," he said softly to Margaret. "Every child progresses at their own pace. The pressure could block him further." Margaret frowns. She's always been used to solving problems quickly, with control and determination. Malik's slow and patient approach seems frustrating to her. "But, we've tried all these methods before." "He needs to progress faster, Malik," she insists. Malik looks at her serenely. "Margaret, it's not about speed. It's about confidence. Ethan learns to speak up when he feels safe and respected. If he feels pressured, he'll back off." Margaret takes a deep breath. She feels a pang of guilt. She realizes she may have let her impatience harm her son. She turns away, watches Ethan play with a small sound cube, and realizes Malik is right. True progress isn't measured just in spoken words, but in trust and emotional connection. Later, she asks Malik to show her how to interact without imposing his expectations. Together, they play a card game where Ethan must match pictures with words. Margaret follows Malik's instructions, speaking slowly, smiling, and praising Ethan for each attempt. For the first time, she feels a more genuine connection with her son. Ethan smiles shyly at her and says a word he's never said before, "joy." Margaret freezes, moved. This simple yet powerful word shows her that patience and attentive listening can open doors that wealth and urgency could never penetrate. That day, Margaret learned her first important lesson: helping her son doesn't mean controlling everything. Sometimes you have to wait, observe, and let the child lead the way. Malik, silent but observant, became a model of this wisdom, and Margaret began to understand that it wasn't just about teaching Ethan to talk, but about reteaching herself how to communicate with him with respect and love. A few days after the tensions of the previous chapter, Malik decides it's time to introduce a more creative approach to stimulating Ethan. He sets up a small corner in the living room with colorful objects, sound cubes, and picture cards. Margaret watches curiously. "Margaret," said Malik, smiling, "today we're going to play a special game. Ethan will learn to associate sounds with movements and images, in a fun way." Ethan approaches tentatively, intrigued by the objects on the floor. Malik invites him to touch, explore, and make his own choices. Every action, every gesture is emphasized by gentle but constant encouragement. "Ethan, repeat after me, cat," Malik said, holding up a cat card. The boy opens his mouth, hesitates, and says, "Cha." Malik claps softly. Once again. He encourages. After several repetitions, Ethan manages to pronounce the word correctly. Margaret fights back tears. This is more than just a linguistic achievement, it's proof that play, patience, and creativity can awaken talents that no one has yet been able to bring out. Malik explains to Margaret. It's not about forcing words. It's about creating an environment where Ethan feels free and safe. That's how language really develops. Margaret, fascinated, begins to actively participate. She repeats the words, imitates the gestures, encourages her son, and laughs with him when he makes a mistake. The house, once silent and tense, is now filled with sounds and laughter. Towards the end of the session, Ethan says several words to form a simple sentence. Mom, play, cube. Margaret, overwhelmed by the emergence of these words, kneels to hold her son against her. She feels a deep bond forming, more authentic than ever. This moment marks a turning point. Malik's method is working. It's not just about exercises, but about a true understanding of the child, their rhythm, and their perception of the world. Margaret understands that she has finally found a way to communicate with Ethan, not through orders or expectations, but through respect, love, and patience. She also realizes that this process is teaching her as much as it is teaching Ethan. She's learning to slow down, to really listen, and to appreciate every small victory. For Margaret, it's a sea change. She begins to see that the greatest progress comes not from wealth or power, but from caring and genuine connection. A few weeks later, the routine Malik established is beginning to bear fruit. Every morning, Ethan greets Malik with a bright smile, and Margaret watches in wonder at her son's steady progress. Words, once sparse and hesitant, are multiplying. Simple sentences are becoming clearer, and Ethan is beginning to express his needs and emotions with greater confidence. One afternoon, Malik sets up a small trail in the garden, colorful blocks, objects to match pictures, and cards with words. He invites Margaret to actively participate, asking simple questions, and encouraging Ethan to respond with words or gestures. "Ethan, where's the ball?" Margaret asks, a little nervous but eager to see her son's reaction. The boy looks around, points at the ball with a broad smile and says clearly, "To be." Margaret chokes back a sob of emotion. For the first time, she feels that Ethan understands her and feels understood. Malik watches the scene silently, a small smile on his face. "You see," he said softly to Margaret, "it's not just about words. It's about trust. Ethan is learning to trust you and to express what he feels." Later, while the three of them are playing, Ethan approaches his mother and speaks a complete sentence for the first time. "Mom. I love you." Margaret freezes, overcome with emotion. Her eyes shine with tears she can't hold back. She hugs Ethan, unable to utter a word from the overwhelming joy. Malik, discreet but attentive, knows he's witnessing a crucial moment. The mother-son bond, long veiled by silence, strengthens and becomes tangible. From that day on, Margaret felt a profound shift in their relationship. She was no longer just the mother watching from afar, worried and helpless. She became an active partner in her son's development, learning to respect his pace, celebrate every small victory, and create a safe and supportive environment. That day, Margaret understood a crucial truth: language is more than a tool for communication, it is the key to creating connections, building trust, and unlocking a child's potential. Thanks to Malik, her son found his voice, and Margaret regained the confidence and hope she thought long ago lost. A few weeks after Ethan's remarkable progress, Margaret can't stop thinking about Malik and his unique method. She realizes that it's not just about helping her son, but that he has a talent that can transform the lives of many other autistic children. One afternoon, after a particularly successful session where Ethan formed simple sentences and expressed himself with ease, Margaret took Malik aside. "Malik," she said, "I can't keep your talent to ourselves. You have a gift, a real gift. I want to help you create a center to help other children, a place where your method could touch lives." Malik, surprised, shakes his head gently. "Margaret, I'm not looking for recognition or money. My goal has always been to help children, one by one." "I know," she replies. "But imagine how many lives you could change if you had the resources to do it on a large scale. You could train teams, create programs. I can fund all that." Malik thinks for a moment. He remembers his difficult beginnings, the children he helped in small, underfunded facilities. He knows how difficult it is to truly reach a large number of families without material support. "Okay," he said finally, "but on one condition, that everything we do puts the child and his family at the center, not fame or money." "That's exactly what I want," Margaret confirms with a smile. Over the next few days, they began planning the center together. Margaret used her contacts and resources to find a suitable location, recruit qualified staff, and fund specialized educational materials. Malik worked on the educational structure, ensuring that each child could progress at their own pace in a respectful and caring environment. Meanwhile, Ethan continues to flourish. He speaks more fluently, expresses his emotions, and actively participates in Malik's games and activities. Margaret watches each progress with pride, knowing that this opportunity extends far beyond their home. It will change the lives of many children who, like Ethan, have long been misunderstood. This project, born from a chance encounter in the garden, becomes a symbol of renewed hope. Margaret understands that sometimes, a single person with the right heart and the right method can create changes that surpass all expectations. And for her, this collaboration with Malik represents not only an opportunity to transform Ethan's life, but also to give true meaning to his wealth and influence. The center's opening day is approaching, and Margaret and Malik are busy getting everything ready. The rooms are equipped with specialized educational equipment, from sensory areas to interactive play corners, every detail designed to meet the needs of autistic children. On the morning of the opening, a small crowd of parents and children waits in the bright lobby. Margaret watches the scene with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She realizes that this project, which began as a desire to help her own son, is now taking on a much larger dimension. "Malik," she whispers, "I never imagined it would become so real." Malik smiled calmly. "Every child here has a voice. We're just here to help them find it." Ethan, wearing his favorite sweater, follows Malik through the different rooms, shyly showing the other children how to use certain games. For the first time, he interacts with his peers, laughing and exchanging words with them. Margaret feels immense pride and deep emotion. Her son is no longer just a beneficiary of the center, he is becoming an active participant, almost a small mentor for the other children. As the weeks passed, the center gained a solid reputation. Parents watched their children progress, some speaking their first words, others developing social and emotional skills they had never displayed before. Margaret watched the transformations with admiration. Malik, for his part, remained humble, preferring to gently celebrate each victory rather than seek recognition. "Margaret," he said one day, watching Ethan help another child match cards and words, "every progress is unique. It's not speed, but consistency and attention that make all the difference." Margaret nods. She understands that her own life has changed as much as Ethan's. She is no longer just the mother of an autistic child, but a partner in a project that has a real impact on the community. She discovers that her wealth and resources finally take on their full meaning when they are used to support others. The transformation isn't just about the children. The entire community is beginning to recognize the importance of Malik's approach. Neighbors, schools, and even local institutions are coming to observe and learn from his methods. Margaret realizes that this project, born from a chance encounter in her backyard, is now reaching beyond her family. It's influencing and inspiring an entire city. That day, seeing Ethan smile and connect with other children, Margaret fully understood that real change isn't measured in wealth or career success, but in human connection and shared trust. The center is much more than a place of learning, it's a space where hope is reborn for every family that walks through its doors. As the months passed, the center became a vibrant and joyful place. Margaret continued to watch her son progress, and she realized that her relationship with Malik had also evolved. It was no longer just the young man helping her son, he had become a mentor, a partner, and a friend. One evening, after a long day of sessions, Margaret and Malik sit on the center's small balcony, overlooking the garden where Ethan plays with other children. The air is mild, filled with the laughter and joyful voices echoing through the courtyard. "I never imagined this project would bring us so close," Margaret said, looking at Malik. "And I never thought that a chance encounter in your garden could change my life as much as it did the children's," he replies with a calm smile. They exchange a knowing glance, a silent acknowledgement of all they have accomplished together. Margaret realizes that the wealth and power she thought were essential are insignificant compared to the genuine bonds she has created through Malik and the impact they have on the children's lives. As Malik speaks passionately about new ideas for improving the center, Margaret feels a deep admiration for his intelligence, patience, and humanity. She understands that their collaboration goes far beyond professional matters, they share a common vision, a mission that unites them. Ethan, seeing his mother and Malik talking together, runs towards them holding a small card on which he has written his first words, "Thank you, Malik." He hands them to Malik, who kneels down to hug him and respond. "Thank you, my friend. You teach us as much as we teach you." Margaret watches the scene, moved to tears. She understands that true success is not measured by money spent or quick results, but by love, patience, and sincere human connection. She and Malik have built something lasting, not only a center that transforms lives, but also a friendship and mutual trust that cannot be sold. This evening marks a turning point in Margaret's life. She realizes that her son, herself, and Malik have all grown thanks to this experience. Their collective success transcends material notions and takes on a deeper meaning. It is proof that kindness, patience, and empathy can truly change lives. One evening, when the center is almost empty and the last children have left, Margaret sits on a garden bench with Malik. Ethan plays nearby, building towers of colorful blocks and talking confidently to the other children. The air is quiet, but filled with laughter and joy. Margaret watched the scene and felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Over the years, she had spent a fortune and searched high and low for solutions to get her son to talk and interact. Nothing had worked. And yet, here and now, she saw Ethan blossoming naturally. "Look at him," she said softly to Malik. "He's not the same child anymore, he's happy, confident." Malik smiles and nods. "Yes, and you played a vital role in that, Margaret. Your love and commitment created the space in which he could flourish." Margaret feels her heart sink. For years, she believed that money could solve everything. Today, she understands that what really matters is presence, listening, and patience. She sees her son laughing, talking, helping other children, and she understands that every little word he says is the result of a carefully crafted bond, not an expensive treatment or a standard program. Ethan, seeing his mother and Malik talking, runs over to them with a big smile and a drawing he's made. On the paper, there are 3 of them, Margaret, Malik, and himself, each holding one of the other's hands. Beneath the drawing, he's written his first words in a complete sentence. "Thank you, Mom. Malik. I'm happy." Margaret bursts into tears, clutching her son. Malik kneels down to hug him as well. This simple yet powerful moment reveals all they have accomplished together. This isn't just the progress of an autistic child, it's the transformation of a family, of a mother learning to let go, a mentor finding genuine appreciation, and a son discovering his voice and his confidence. Margaret finally understands that true wealth lies not in money or power, but in those authentic human connections that change lives in profound and lasting ways. That night, under the starry sky, she realizes that this chance encounter in her garden has created much more than an educational center. It has transformed her world, her son, and herself forever. A few months later, the center is bustling with activity. The children, now numerous, are laughing, talking, interacting, and developing skills they had never displayed before. Parents come regularly to observe and learn how to communicate with their children at home. Margaret and Malik have become a recognized and respected duo in the community, not for their fame or wealth, but for the real impact they have on the lives around them. Ethan, now able to form complete sentences and participate in group games, becomes a living example of what patience, love, and a respectful approach can achieve. He even helps new children feel comfortable, gently guiding their hands as they choose cards or say their first words. Margaret, watching this scene, feels an immense sense of pride and gratitude. "Look at him," she whispers to Malik, "he's so fulfilled. I never imagined it possible." "It's his merit as much as ours," Malik replies, humble but happy. Every word he speaks, every smile he offers, is proof of his strength and courage. Margaret realizes that their collaboration has changed not only Ethan's life, but her own as well. She has learned to listen, to wait, to value every small victory, and to understand that love and patience surpass anything money can buy. She sees the center as a symbol of this transformation, a space where children are listened to, understood, and supported, and where every step forward, no matter how small, is celebrated. One evening, as the center was closing, Ethan ran to his mother and Malik, a big smile on his face. "Thank you, everyone, happy," he said enthusiastically. Margaret laughs, hugs him and says, "Yes, my dear, we are all happy." Malik smiles as he looks at this reunited family. He knows that this chance encounter in the garden several months ago has created something lasting and profound, not just the voice of a child, but also a transformed home, an inspired community, and a future full of hope. Material wealth, possessions, expensive therapies, these things now seem secondary. True success is measured in smiles, words spoken, connections made, and lives transformed. Margaret, Malik, and Ethan know this is just the beginning of a greater journey, but the journey they've taken has already shown them the power of patience, kindness, and true love. And so, a chance encounter, a simple act of patience and compassion, forever changed the lives of a child, a mother, and a mentor. A new life begins, full of promise and hope.